Hey guys, today we are talking about the distributive property. 3 friends are going to a concert at the fair. They will each pay admission to the fair, which costs $6, and admission to the concert, which is $22. What is the total that 3 friends will spend? We could do it this way, where we take each person times the $6 for admission, add that to each person times the $22 for the concert. So we could also write it with the distributive property, model 2. We can take 3 times the 6 plus the 22 in the parentheses. And that is the distributive property. So the distributive property states that the product of a number and a sum is equal to the sum of the products of the addends and that number. Okay, that seems a little confusing in words, but just take a look. What that means is if I have a number outside of a parentheses, it's called distributive because this number is going to distribute and multiply to each of these addends. So A times B plus A times C. So technically, in the first example, these two equal one another. Okay, so let's practice distributing. Typically, with order of operations, we would add these first. But what if I had different colored Skittles, like 7 orange and 4 purple, and I want to know how many of each I have if I have 2 bags? Okay, so 2 times 7 gives me 14, and 2 times 4 gives me 8, and I add them together. So these would be the colors separate, and 14 plus 8 would give me 22 total Skittles. If I had 20 green and 4 red, but I have 3 bags, I have 3 times 20, which is 60, and 3 times 4, which is 12, so I have a total of 72. In this one, 9 times 3 and 9 times 11, so 9 times 3 is 27, plus 9 times 11, which is 99, add them together and I get 126. Okay, so typically you wouldn't do it like that because if your end game is to figure out the total anyway, you would just use order of operations. But the reason why we did that is because what if we think back to when we have variables? X and 3 are not like terms, so they can't be combined. So in this case, it's essential to distribute because the 8 has to go with the X and with the 3, and these two inside the parentheses can't be combined. So this could be written 8 times X plus 8 times 3, which gives us 8X plus 24. In this one, it's 5 times 9 and 5 times X. And we know 5 times 9 is 45, and 5 times X is 5X. Feel free to write out the steps if that helps you. Like in this one, you could do 2 times X plus 2 times 3. Feel free to draw the arrows if that helps you. And then you get 2X plus 6. And while it's not an answer, it's not an answer that we're used to, it is the simplified answer when we are combining like terms. All right, so what do we do when we have fractions? Well, the nice thing about this is we could distribute the 8 to the 4 and to the 3/4. So we could take 8 times 4 plus 8 times 3/4. Okay, so if we think back, what's 8 times 4? You can use your calculator if you need to for these problems. Don't forget that. We get 32, and we can put 8 times 3/4 in our calculator, or we can think back to when we multiply everything in the numerator, which would be 24, everything in the denominator, which would be 4, and then divide. 4 goes into 24 6 times. So 32 plus 6 gives me 38. You could have also simplified within the problem and gotten 4 goes into 8 twice, 4 goes into itself once, 2 times 3 is 6. Okay, so in this one, 6 times 3 plus 6 times 1/2. So 6 times 3 gives me 18. And 6 halves gives me 3 wholes. Or I can simplify within the problem 3 and 2 and get 3. Don't forget, you can plug this in your calculator. 6, the multiply button, the fraction button, which is the numerator over the denominator, and type in 1/2. And then hit enter. Oops, I meant to erase that. So 18 plus 3 gives us 21. Over here, 12 times 5 plus 12 times 1/4. So if I have 12 times 5, I have 60. And 12 times 1 is 12. Over 4 gives me 3. Or I can just simplify within the problem. 4 goes into 12 3 times. 3 times 1 is 3. 1 times 1 is 1. So my final is 63. Okay. What if we needed to factor an expression? When we look for the greatest common factor in the terms of an expression, we say we are factoring it. So we're trying to figure out what is the greatest common factor between 9 and 21. First, we have to ask ourselves what makes up a 9. Well, 1 and 9 and 3, because 3 times 3 gives us 9. For 21, it's 1 and 21. No 2, but 3 and 7 work. And that's it. So the greatest common factor in this case is a 3. So when we factor out this expression, we're figuring out 3 times 3 gave me 9. So pull the 3 out and put the 3 here. 3 times 7 gave me 21. So place your 7 here because 3 times 7 gives you 21. And what you write as the distributive property this way should give you your original. 3 times 3 is 9, 3 times 7 is 21. Okay, what about 14 and 28? I see something right off the bat. Because I know 14 goes into 28, I pull out a 14. If you didn't know that, you can list out all the factors. So I still see that 14 is the greatest. So 14 times 1 gives me 14, so I put that there without a comma. I was writing factors again. Plus sign, right? And then 14 times 2 gives me 28. So 14 times 1 plus 14 times 2. Okay, for 80 and 56, so the factors of 80 are 1 and 80, 2 and 40, 4 and 40, or excuse me, 4 and 20, 5 and 8. For 56, are 1 and 56, 2 and 28, 4 and 14, and 7 and 8. So, in this case, 8 times, oh, I missed the 10 there. 8 times 10 and 8 times 7. So, pull out the 8. 8 times 10 plus 8 times 7 gives me 56. Okay, so now it's your turn. Write the expression using the distributive property and then try to factor these, and then grab your red pen and I'll be back to show you what I did. Okay, in this first one, it's 3 times x plus 3 times 1, which equals 3x plus 3. In the second one, it's 5 times x plus 5 times 8, which gives us 5x plus 40. In this part C, 4 times 5 gives us 20, and 4 times 1/4, these all cancel out, so I'm just left with 1 over 1, or 1, so I get 21. Down here, we have to pull out the factors. The factors of 8 and 16 are 1 and 8, 2 and 4. For 16, it's 1 and 16, 2 and 8, and I can stop because I found that 8 is the biggest. 8 times 1 gives me 8, and 8 times 2 gives me 16. So I add 1 plus 2 inside because 8 times 1 is 8, and 8 times 2 is 16. 54 and 24. In this case, the greatest common is 6, so pull that out. and 6 times 9 gives me 54, and 6 times 4 gives me 24. The factors of 25 and 60 are both 5, so pull out the 5, and 5 times 5 gives me 25, and 5 times 12 gives me 60. And that's all I have for you today, and I will see you next time.